Let me start off with a question from Kinini Jegeno asking you, Shaka Ssali, does Western democracy work in Africa? Essentially, do we have a different version of democracy for Africans? Is democracy a universal concept?
Well, first of all, obviously, when you look at his question, it implies that there are different types of democracies. But as you rightly said, are there really different types of democracies? No. I honestly think that democracy is democracy. You have to look at the universal tenets that make up what democracy is or is not. For example, the issue of accountability. Does it necessarily really have to be limited to Europeans
Westerners,
or
yes.
Westerners?
Right.
Does it necessarily have to be limited to some kind of geographical locations? Talking about justice, socio-economic political justice. Is it something human? Is it something universal? Or is it something that is geographically or racially limited to some parts of this planet Earth?
Right. Basically, is justice in the West different from justice in Africa?
Precisely.
Right.
And what about the issue of fairness? Fairness. I mean, these are all these tenets that I have mentioned, Jackson.
That are universal.
That are
essentially universal.
And also, in fact, that were actually practiced in some communities across Africa before the issue of colonialism.
Right.
Up to now, there are neighborhoods in some African countries, traditional African societies and what have you, where people respect the issue of accountability, the issue of fairness, the issue of integrity, the issue of justice. That in fact, when a man or woman reflects some of these tenets, it is more than money in the bank.
Even before Western democracy came into Africa, we practiced some form of democracy that very much mirrors what we see, what we call Western democracy.
As a matter of fact, across Africa, when you go to ordinary people, these are things, in fact, they practice, to be honest with you. The issue comes to the situation of people who actually hold and control what is called the state, the government. That is the issue.
Does the leadership on the continent understand democracy in those terms? Because we've had people say on the continent, some of the leaders say, you know, leave us alone, leave our affairs to us, leave the affairs of Africans to Africans, and you do your own thing and let us do our own thing.
It is very interesting. I wish they were right, and in fact, I wish they were even serious in the sense that they actually meant it, because when it comes to foreign aid, for example, they don't consider that as foreign interference. I mean, to be very honest with you, there are countries, I don't have to mention them, they pretty much, in fact, depend in terms of paying the salaries of their civil servants.
The national budget is basically...
Their national security people and what have you. The budget is supplemented by who they call development partners.
Right.
But when development partners begin to invoke certain cultural and certain, kind of like ideological, certain
principles.
kind of...
They're basically saying that, if you're going to get money from us, if you're going to ask us for support, then you should respect human rights, for example.
Precisely.
And there's no question about that.
Yeah, and these are supposed to be universal values.
Right. Just exactly what you were saying earlier.
Precisely.
Yes. Right.
Then that becomes an issue. Then they start complaining, saying that this is foreign interference. So why don't you also, in fact, refuse to accept foreign interference in the form of foreign aid?
Right. Return to sender.